Leonard, how you doing, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Young. How you doing, sir?
How you
Hello?
doing, sir? Yeah.
Director,
Yeah, come on, you're loud and
try to
clear.
get ready for
Try to get ready for that.
Trying to get, yeah, trying to make sure I don't be tardy all the time, you know.
Yeah, they
Once in a while, trying to be a little early.
got something on a good one. Well,
This
live,
as an expression of respect for the other people in timing, you know.
correct. Well,
Yes, sir.
we live, but I'll take you out for a minute, right? Just stay for a minute.
You're saying something else, but
No, I'm saying we live, but I'm gonna just take you out the screen for a minute, and then I'm gonna bring you back in a minute.
to speak when you speak, like you say something, and then it's the last part of what you're saying. I could barely hear the last word from the sentence.
Well, we okay. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere. Stay right there.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. All right. Greetings, salutations.
Good evening.
Good evening to
Gentlemen.
you, my dear fellow. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
Good evening, Mr. Leonard.
Good evening, Mr. Morrison. Glad to see you again, sir, and hope everything is alright with you.
Yes,
Tell
I'm
me how
doing
you
well.
like go off her arm sometimes.
My light goes on and off sometimes, you say?
Yeah, like sometimes you get dark and sometimes it's doing for a little
I
while.
think that's when I move around or something like that, or like that.
Yeah.
I think it's the camera. The camera is kind of sensitive.
I think you got to stay in the light.
My problem is I only have one bulb above me.
Yeah.
Where I'm staying right now, I only have one bulb.
You look like a halo.
I hope I'm good here. I hope I'm good halo. I know I'm bad one.
I've never heard of a bad one, Mr. Leonard.
Yeah, never.
Oh yes. You forget that Satan was an angel up in heaven. He was the fourth most important person, right? Or not person, but entity.
I thought he was the second. I thought he was
the man had halos just like the others of the angels.
I thought he was the second most important person. Leonard?
No, he wanted to be the most important.
No, I thought he was the
That's why he got kicked out.
important.
But you said he's the fourth. Why did you say that?
Yeah, he's the second.
Well, there was the Trinity, right?
No,
all who come before him.
No. God didn't give us Trinity. Man gave us Trinity. God did not give us Trinity. God did not give us Trinity.
So you don't think? So you don't believe you have Mr. G?
Yeah.
Mr. Morrison, you don't believe you have a soul then because you can't see it?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying God did not.
Wait. I'm trying to be funny when I ask you that question, right? Because I was just trying to be funny to show you how preposterous some people's perspective of what is it that God is or is not, and how we as human beings try to ascribe human traits to God, right?
Yeah.
Mr. C.Y.
Yes, sir. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Morrison. I was just trying to be funny or facetious, right? When I made that statement, I wasn't really asking for an answer, because I presume.
No, but I took it serious because I always thought I thought you studied divinity and you had some more knowledge than I did about it.
Well, I did study divinity. That was what my hope was to become I wanted to become the Black Billy Graham when I was a teenager. So I left technical college and went to a divinity school to study for the ministry, and then I came back to technical after giving up because I couldn't come up with enough money to pay for my studies.
I know.
But truly speaking, if I'm an expert in anything, it has to do with religion and religious affairs, and the prophecies and things like those, The first book I ever wrote was entitled The Hebrews, which was a summation of all the Old Testament back in 1968.
Okay.
And if I'm to lay claim to a knowledge of anything that has to do with this world, I think that's the one that I would go number one on in terms of
Good evening, Mr. Mike.
Awareness and proficiency on the subject matter.
Good evening, one and all.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
George is in. Greetings.
Good evening, Mr. Marvitt.
Good evening, sir.
All right, you guys are on time tonight. I like that. I mean, we're in for some lively discussions. Mr. Brackett.
Well, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I wanted us to start off the program, on a light note, right? And I wanted to say that I made it a point of duty to try and be earlier than the rest of the panel today as an expression of my gratitude for everybody's time and effort. Everybody's time is worth something more than money, And I've been late most of the time recently, so I figure being a little earlier this time, I'm not going to make up for all the times that I've been late, but at least I'm just trying to express my sense of gratitude and respect for other people's time,
Well, I'm glad you understand that. You get no points for that. You can't make up for
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
Our chairman is tough.
Let's proceed. Your point is taken, sir. I understand what you're saying. Yes, we appreciate that. I know that, and I agree. All the members of the panel take this time out for spend some time here to discuss this, and I believe that it will catch on. I think that people will recognize that it's worthwhile listen, if you will, because I must take my hats after you guys. You're learned in your own respectful rights. So thank you very much for being here. A number of things on the agenda. CY, are we on?
You on? You're on, sir.
All right, good. Wonderful. First of all, Gregory, I see you made mention of it, and I want to get the opinion of the other guys on the panel. The Creole Council is objecting to not being included in the constitutional reform. Is that correct, George?
Yes, I read something like that on social media.
Yeah, in fact, it's on the news tonight. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if they're trying to instigate a tribal war, but I think it's very important that we pay some attention to it.
Yes.
What are they doing? Are they saying that we are now a Hispanic country? Is that what they're trying to...
It's not the Creole Council that said that. It's the Prime Minister.
No, I know. I'm saying, yeah. I mean, is that what the government is saying?
That's what the Prime Minister kind of said, and I find it kind of...
Can I interject?
Hold up. Let Greg finish your point or something. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No, man. No, apologize, man. Because I want half-hearted apology, and we don't accept that. Just make it go ahead, man.
Well, that's...
I just know if you do it every time you're sorry, you're not sorry. So, just I don't want.
I am sorry, sir. All
right.
But anyhow,
all right, you're sorry. Okay.
I was just going to say that the Prime Minister in his comments, I don't know if he was in the Senate chamber or some group meeting there
in the House,
where he was indicating that they have set aside 25 seats so far, and by adding the Creole Council, they were going to be having increase, and that he pointed out that the Hispanic, which is the majority in the country, does not have a seat. So I think he showed a little bit of insensitivity and not only that, some dumb schooling, because if you look at it historically, Belize was for 300 years.
The guys are damn Trojan horse in our country.
Yeah, and what has brought this change about has been the consistent move by both UDP and PUP government that dilutes the population of Creole. And yes, of course, migration and immigration from Belize have a lot to do with it. But the way he approached it and just closed the discussion down with that comment, I thought was poor and insensitive and desires some better redress from him than the way he came off.
Yeah. Mr. Brackett, wait a minute.
The man has no
Yeah.
time. The man has no time, interest, or concern about any Creole people in this country and or black people per se, including the Garifuna people. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit because this battle I've been waging and I've been pointing out to our countrymen, both Hispanics and others, that the attempt by these individuals who have a specific agenda going on and have been successful at achieving the end objective partially and still being successful at achieving additional objective is not in the interest of the average Guatemalan per se, who has been educated from the time he was born until he dies, that Belices nació y lo consideremos por la razón o por la fuerza. That has been put into their constitution by the Castellanos, the descendants of the original conquistadors who conquered Guatemala and the rest of Central America. And they consider Belize and Chiapas as being part of Central America. And Guatemala is hell-bent from way back before it became independent. It wanted to control the whole of Central America, including Belize and Chiapas. But it did not have them under its control, and as a result, lost Chiapas to Mexico and could not take possession of Belize because they were not military in any position to argue with Britain, whom we, the Belizean people, had asked the British to come at our aid after they had taken some of our people to Cuba, and many others had dispersed to the interlands. Others went to Bluefields, others went to Trujillo and Vanaca and Guanaca and those other Bay Islands and to Jamaica.
Mr.
Okay?
Brackett.
So when, go ahead, sir.
I'm impressed with your knowledge of history, you know. But we've already discussed the historical, whether we could hold that credible or not. Now another thing, but with the talk now about something else, man. With the talk about the exclusion of the Creole from the Reform Committee. Can we
understand that? So I'm here, and I was listening to the presentation in the House this last Friday. I listened to it. So I'm totally agreeing with you. The fact, though, remains that without context, a lot of people just, graze over this.
Yeah, but we kind of like over contextualize.
No. A lot of people just graze over this act of disenfranchising not only the Creole but a lot of other Belizeans in this country.
All right.
Okay.
Make a sure George got for a sec. He always come from left field with some kind of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You almost preempted what I was going to say. But really, my question in relation to the Constitutional Reform Commission, given the fact that I also wear another hat, I am the Secretary General of the Belize Progressive Party, and we have been named, third parties have been given a seat. And I'm saying that to say that my recollection was that those persons and institutions on the commission, I do not recall that there was, for example, a Mayan council or the equivalent, or a Garifuna council or the equivalent. I could have been wrong. So my question on social media was whether or not there was a representation from the various ethnic groups before I weighed in on whether or not the Creoles should be at the table. So the jury is still out on that because I don't know, and it's really a question for this panel whether or not the Garifuna and the Mayans and perhaps other ethnic groups would be there. I believe it would be. It could be a slippery slope. if you begin to make it ethnic,
Mhm.
because then instead of the prime minister complaining perhaps about 26, he might be at 50.
But then the question will be, what are those 25 seats? Where can we find a list of those 25? Because I was trying to find that, to find out who's on there, what's on there, what kind of groups are. You were saying the third parties on there. So that one
Yes.
political thing, you have the PUP,
Well,
the UDP, that's 3, and a third party.
And I
Well,
think they also have doctors. I think there's
Or the
a
medical
yeah,
people. And then I imagine teachers would have a seat.
yeah.
the
My
point-
position is not necessarily that the Creole Council has to be on it. My concern was the way the Prime Minister dismissed it.
Yeah.
It-
Because
it was not so much that they have a legitimate role to be on it, because if it is not made up of like you're saying, George,
right.
um,
Good point.
just ethnic constituencies, then to just add that one would be kind of strange.
I've always felt that we have to be careful with being xenophobic. We don't want to seem, because again, Martin Luther King said it a long time ago, you judge a person by the content of character, not by the color of his skin. And that don't mean what color it is, whether you can't judge him good because he's black, or you can't judge him bad because he's black, and vice versa for white and Hispanic or anything. And I think that when they open the door, if you will, for like what they're doing now with the refugees and whatnot, I would hope that they have a criteria that takes the best interests of Belize in mind. In other words, I did not disagree with Trump when he felt that you can't let anybody in, you can't just open the door. You have to be selective in the people. He wanted the people from Europe, of course, and he more from white countries. So we don't want to look at that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
When you're through with your point, sir, can I, before I forget what I was about to say, get a chance to follow up on
I don't
what
forget
you're
what I
saying?
may say. I don't forget what I may say. So go ahead. No, see, I say there's a thing they say, interrupt an elderly person when they talk because you forget what I'm going to talk about. And that's true. I don't know where I'm going to talk about. Go ahead, make your point. Make your point. Make your point.
Sir, yes, thank you. In Belize, it seems like there's an amnesia of not recognizing what is it that the survivability of this country, as we today know it, is all about. And we're being played big time, and I keep throwing up these, balloons with fire inside them, hoping that somebody would burst them and let the damn fire out so that, some fire could get burned on some of these traitors and people of powerful. I mean, I'll tell you outright, this commission that we're now discussing on our program is just a Trojan horse to achieve and to help the current Prime Minister achieve an end objective. Okay?
Which is?
And that end objective, I'm sorry. He was
Go
about
ahead.
to say something else, sir? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, and that end objective is one and the same, trying to find in the foreign affairs of this country and interfering in the local affairs of this country to get Belize and Belizeans to acquiesce and or to be overtaken by the events and the circumstances to which, because we're so asleep at the wheel, we won't even know what the hell happened to us. For example, back to the point where someone mentioned earlier about 102 to 120,000 Creoles living in this country of approximately, according to their numbers, because I have different numbers than they, but I'm using their numbers to establish my point. Of 400,000 people, you have approximately 30% being Belize and being in Creole. That's what the claim is. And 30% of 400 equals to 120 plus or minus thousand Creoles identified as such, so to speak. How the hell can we arrive at a point where we can sit back and pretend like it's no big deal if our prime minister just by, some decree or some fiat or some day he wakes up and maybe had a discussion with his Guatemalan wife, and deciding, okay, well, you know what? We're going to add another 60 to 100,000 plus, because believe me, that is not the final number. Either 60 or 100. But let's say at 100,000 people, 100,000 more people to our voters, to our list, and that 100,000 by virtue of equating numbers will be just about on par with the Creoles. Not to say the least that right now, the majority of the people in the country are not Creole. A couple of decades ago, the majority of the people in the country were born Belizeans and not Hispanics or of Hispanic descent. How are we so unaware of a live Trojan horse operating within our midst and pretend like it's no big deal?
Couple of things.
It drives me crazy.
Couple of things. Is the prime minister's wife Guatemalan? I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
He is. She is.
Our constitution says that. Wait. Our constitution. Our constitution says that no Guatemalan is entitled to you. Wait. Listen. This is very important right now.
Hold on,
You know that, Leonard, is the prime minister's wife Guatemalan? That you know?
Because of the problem we have with Guatemala.
No.
But yet we can have a first lady.
Well, hold up. Answer it, no, sir. Answer the question, man. Answer the question. Do you know for a fact that the prime minister's wife is a Guatemalan citizen?
Or was born in
I wouldn't be
Guatemala?
opening up my mouth and speak something that I would not be knowledgeable of.
That's
I'm not
beside
known
the
to be of that nature.
I don't know you well enough to know you that way. Let's put it that way.
So you're asking me the question.
Man.
The answer is yes,
Yes.
because I
All
already
right.
stated it before. That's
Okay.
that's what I intimated when I made the statement.
It is yes because you stated it before? Is that why it's yes?
No, sir.
All right.
I didn't give birth to the lady. I didn't marry the lady.
But you don't need to throw all anything there in there, man. No,
Sir,
all right.
these things are critical to what we
Hold
are
on.
experiencing today.
Yeah, Judge. Go ahead, Judge.
No. I can't interrupt Mr. Brackett. I'm just saying that I want to speak when he's through.
Okay.
I'm true, sir, for right now.
No, go ahead, Mr. Brackett. You are in midstream, and I don't want to interrupt your thoughts.
No, sir, please.
You gentlemen will recall.
I may benefit yet from something that somebody else have to say.
But then just make them say it then, Judge. I mean, no, sorry. Just make them say it, Brackett. Just you put a lot of annotations and things in there where kind of like show the point off, man. I will lose track.
Sir,
Anyway,
nobody acknowledged just now knowing that was the case. You asked if
I
that
didn't
was the
know.
case.
I did not know.
And there are
I
so many
asked.
other Belizeans that don't even know that as a fact.
Yeah.
Ask
right.
Mr. Bishenyo, how come his division has expanded 4 times as large as it was 40 years ago or 4 decades ago? And where are those people from? Were they born Belizean? No. There's a lot going on in our country that people are not aware of and could care less, apparently.
Was that done under his watch?
Sir, you can also ask him, when he was the Minister of Lands, how many people he brought in and gave lands to in exchange for votes? Because if he wants to go to court and let us open that in the court, I can take out a whip-ass bunch of barrels of stuff for him to digest
you know what? I
or
don't
work
want it
on,
to be
because I have the records.
I wanted to get in a point, Mr. Chairman, and so I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Mr.
Go ahead,
Brackett
please.
to finish. You gentlemen will recall.
I'm just about finished right now.
Let
sir,
the man
on
wait
those
to
2 points.
finish, man. As soon as the man starts, you got more things to say. Just
No,
let
go ahead.
the man speak. No, sir.
No,
when
no, I
when
want- I
you
want
speak,
Mr.
we let you.
Brackett.
No, but we have to settle this because when you speak, Brackett, everybody is quiet and we let you speak. As soon as somebody else starts speaking, you have something else to say. No, go there, man. Just make we talk. Go ahead, Judge. So what am I say?
All right, fair enough. You guys will recall that when we were looking at putting some kind of structural framework for this movement, I volunteered. And if you go back into the script, you will see there was a kind of hierarchy of presentation. I started with a vision. We talked about a mission. We talked about principles. We talked about objectives, etc., etc. I'm saying this to say that, unfortunately, the Constitutional Reform Commission did not have a context. It did not have a logical context to it. And so what happened is people were informed that there was this Constitutional Commission reform, and they were told that the objective of it, broadly speaking, was to reform the Constitution. But nobody spoke about what is the vision for Belize. When they begin to talk about this, people say, well, we got a constitution. Well, really, that is not answering what the vision for Belize is. It's not answering the question of where is it that we want to go as a nation. There's really no script that says we want to take Belize in a direction that benefits all the people equally and that transforms us in a way that we go from poverty to prosperity. So there's no context to the whole constitutional issue. And I'm saying this to say that when you look at the composition, it is hodgepodge. You don't know who depend it, and you essentially don't know why they depend it. You have a general sense that yes, they could contribute, but unless you say that X, Y, and Z is the criteria, then it's difficult to defend who is on or who is off the commission. I believe
who should be on. Who should be on, right?
Well. On the one hand, I think that you want people. I see a set of people that should be on.
But I don't hear Greg. I don't hear Greg asking you who should be on. I'm saying he's saying that should be the question, like who really should be on. I mean,
Well, I was going to respond to that to say that who should be on the one hand, should be people who are schooled in issues of the makeup of constitution, so that you would obviously have people on there that are schooled in what a constitution is supposed to say. You would obviously need to have people on there that speaks to the existential issues of this country. One of the existential issues of this country is the economy. So you want people on there that speaks to the economy. You want people in there that speaks to ethnic diversity. You want people in there that speaks to the issue of children and women. So I think that unless you did make that stop in the beginning, then it becomes a question of well, maybe George should depend it and maybe G Mike shouldn't depend it, and then it becomes almost personal. And I think that what we need to do is to step back and in a constructive way, perhaps indicate to the minister in charge that perhaps what you want to do is to give us some orientation as to the how, when, what, and where.
Can I ask you
before you begin to say, well, the Creole shouldn't be there, or the Garifuna should be there. It becomes a slippery slope.
That is a very important point you made, and I'm happy you made that point as far as whether ethnic groups are on there. Because I was wondering if the Mennonites were on there and maybe the Garifuna were on there. But I'm saying, you being on there, you having a seat on there, will you be able to have a voice toward the end of maybe correcting that and saying to them, wait a minute, we're already here, but maybe we should look back at where we should have been before we even reached here? Will you believe that you will have a voice? Will you attempt to have an input like that?
Well, I am an alternate. The two quote-unquote third parties that are on there in the context of political parties is the BPP, which I represent, and the BPF, the Belize People's Front, Nancy Marin. So they are the first, and then I'm the alternate, or BPP is the alternate. There's a group in Belmopan, and this is just talking out of school. There's a group in Belmopan called the Hubert Enriquez and Paul VIP.
Right.
Yeah,
it is VIP. Yeah.
VIP. they will be on there, but not in the context of a political party. So they are not making any noise. We were the ones, BPP and BPF, that was saying to Johnny Briceño, if you have a party, then you need to be inclusive, and we should be at the table. One of the beef that we have, and I'm talking out of school again, is that the PUPs have 2 representatives at the head table and obviously 2 alternates. And the UDP have 2 representatives and 2 alternates. Talking out of school, we were saying, well, if that is the case, and there's a limited amount of players, then the BPP and the VIP should have separate seats. But the arguments could go on and on. I think that at some point, there's a practicality that happens that says that committees that are too big and unwieldy will get not much done. And so I go back to the point of saying that you have to establish those criteria in such a way that there's efficiency built in, and there's inclusion, and where you draw that line as to who is included and who is excluded is really a matter of art and not necessarily science. I take umbrage to, and again, I'm kind of diverting, I take umbrage to the Prime Minister on various fronts. And this is not personal, but I don't think that he's the most diplomatic gentleman. I can recall that, for example, when the stevedores had an issue and he came into the fray, the Prime Minister basically said, well, I hear you, but remember that you guys are just a couple hundred. I got 5,000 cane farmers to deal with. This was not on the
dismissive,
but I think that he missed the point.
Yeah.
That the stevedores are a national constituent.
Yeah.
So him basically saying, man, we don't have to worry about the Creole for the Hispanics are the majority, and we know depend it.
Yeah.
So I don't give him any stripes for being cerebral.
Oh, yeah.
And he's consistent.
Yeah.
But I won't go beyond that.
Yeah, he is. But I want to back up just a little bit. I think you made some good points, George. I think that initially it should have been known what constitutionally they were trying to reform. They should have come out and said, these are the areas, specific areas. They should have had some specific points of the Constitution that they saw fault with as it currently exists, and those ones they wanted to be structured. At this point, it seems to me like the whole Constitution is open for rigmarole and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the case or if there's some specific points they want to address. From what I understand, from what the Prime Minister was saying in that House meeting, was that the 25 people in the group right now is sort of a working group. But still, even if you are developing working group, you should have specific tasks for working group. You should have said, we have these 4 or 5 working groups that we want to do. And even if you are representing your a constituency of Creole Council or business or doctors, you'll be working in that group to try and establish your points, but still the overall goal of that working group that you are in. And right now, I don't get a sense of what all these different individuals with their individual interests is going to do and bring forward, and how beneficial to the nation their effort will be.
Interesting. Just one point. I think he continually puts his foot in his mouth. Indeed, when he come up with a comment about Belize not got no talent, when trying to explain why he hires his sisters and every minister after father higher than one family, I think it's totally ridiculous. Today, it was yesterday, they had something at the PUP headquarters where they were recognizing certain people, and he apparently he was there giving out the certificates, and my name was on one. Interestingly enough, it was spelled G-E-E like my Facebook name, which is not my name. My name is George Michael Reed, and the G is abbreviated as opposed to the middle name. But that aside, I'm saying he knows that I have criticized him in the past, so he I'm wondering, it had to be deliberate that he just excluded me from that, but then don't print up on certificate and somebody recommend me. So here, okay, let's give G. Michael this. But I think that Johnny Briseño is a poor leader. I am not at all impressed with him, the decisions he makes, the things he say, the way he said them. And I put that on record, and that remains as it is. I don't know, and even this, in the way he has done this, if he could have explained it the way George did, in that, okay, we are selecting these people as opposed to ethnic groups, we are selecting professionals from different fields, that would be okay and people could understand that.
Yes.
But to be just dismissive and, oh, well, you know what, that just we got so much Hispanics here, you have to understand that and whatnot. And if they not got one, Unu can't got one, totally ridiculous. Anyway, so.
I just wanted to, if I may, Mr. Chairman, comment on the point that I guess Mr. Morrison suggested in terms of not so much who upon the commission and really in relation to the comment of working groups. There's a technical point to be made, and I just want to clear this up. The political decision was made to reform the Constitution. A commission was named. That commission is not a working group of the cabinet. I think it begs the question of what process would take hold after the output of a reform is presented. That we would want to know, because obviously I think that would need, obviously it becomes policy. Constitution is really a reflection of policy. It's really laws enshrined. And so what we need to be educated and informed on is really what role the cabinet would play and perhaps what role the House would play. Because at the point that it becomes a document, the supreme law of the land, then it obviously has to go to the House. And that is where, we need some clarification, in terms of timeline, in terms of processes, etc. But him saying that, no worry about not my name, everybody want to have their say because I just want to leave working group. That is a kind of being misspoken contextually. I think that what could happen at GMIC, and to your point, at GMIC, we have had, and when I say we, basically the BPP and the BPF, we are working closely on this one. We have a constitutional expert that we are consulting with. And basically, we have gone over the whole Constitution. So the question of whether the part or the whole thing is really the whole McCoy. All right? The expert that we have, and I don't want to bother on it, but the expert that we have, he's going through it line by line, point by point. And I'm saying that when you do that, you could miss the forest for the trees.
You tell me who?
I think what you need to do is you need to step back and say where it is that you want the truck to go. Where is it that you want the Blazing Queen to go? Where do you want it to be headed? And then you could begin to talk about the transmission and the engine and how much seat. And when you reach that point, then you could get into the nitty-gritty. So even with my own expert, and I've kind of indicated this to him, that it's good what he's doing. He's obviously schooled on these things, the nuts and bolts of it. But the big vision and the big picture, he's lacking with. I didn't use those words, so he wasn't too cantankerous with me. But I want to say that I think that some working groups going forward, GMIC and gentlemen, would be appropriate.
Yes.
Within the commission at some point, I believe, has enough work to put some people behind. You go ahead and, for example, you could name a working group for the issue of how do you treat with immigrants And Guatemalan specifically, make one working group deal with that.
Yes.
You could deal with something, you could have a working group and deal with the judiciary aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Yeah,
there's got to do within the work.
let me ask you, Leonard. You're familiar with the Constitution. Do you believe it's a good document, or do you think they need to reform it or throw it out altogether, like George is suggesting?
I don't think in order for us to get better governance than we have had so far, there's no need to change the current constitution. The idea of wanting to change parts of the constitution has been going on with all the amendments that we have been having from the time the constitution was first drafted and put in motion on Independence Day. They have been modifying bits and pieces of it. And that can continue on for eternity as far as I'm concerned. They need to tell the public what is it that they're after and what is it that they want to change and for what reason they need to make those changes in order to provide us with proper and better governance.
Exactly.
The Constitution is there to protect not only the government.
It's not to protect the government, it's to protect the people.
The people.
The people.
And the present people that we have hired to manage our government, because we the people are the government, by the way. I mean, I have spoken with a lot of Belizeans recently, and they seem to believe that the government are this bunch of yahoos that we have elected to run this country the way they want because they have paid for their seats by giving a few people a few dollars here and there, and therefore one person had said, to the victor goes the spoils. Well, I want to tell them that my country is no damn spoils to nobody and for nobody. But going back to the point that you asked, Mr.
No, but you answered that.
There is no need for our present constitution to be hauled and pulled, or to be undone totally, to create a new constitution, which is really what they're after, and they're not telling the Belizean people, is to create a constitution that they can then declare is an independence, the constitution of independence, where we will exercise our own independence, and we'll have nothing to do with having to go to get a cent of power from a British monarch or a British monarch representative. That is what is stuck in their craw. And that's what they're after. They want to run this country by fear.
You're speculating though, so yeah.
I don't think that's the. I don't think
you can call it speculation.
I don't think that's.
You can call it speculation.
No, I don't think that's the issue that the British.
Well, then you're not informed, sir. Sir, with due respect, I respect you quite a bit, but I can then tell you that you're not informed.
Well,
and you're being played. We are being played.
Let the man have a say though.
The British has nothing to do with our constitution, the way our government is functioning and failing. It's nothing to do with the British. We are failing because we have extreme ministerial power that corrupts everything that's done. You think Britannia is going to do that, to undo that? You think they're going to make it so that members of the opposition could cross the floor and join in the political debate on the other side of the party? Those are the things we need. You think they're going to do it so that they are held accountable to the people? So whatever they are trying to do is mischief to grab more power from the people and to corrupt the system so that whatever it is that they're doing, they cannot be found legally liable for.
Again, speculation though. But
under the present laws,
I agree on speculating on that.
Let me say something. Let me say, there was a constitution reform group in 2001, I believe. It was headed by Lois Young and Michael Young and a couple other people. I spoke to a few people about that, and they said, well, you know what? We had 85% of the things they came up with, they adapted. And I'm like, well, really? And how did our governance get any better? It has not. And I agree with George on this point. First of all, we need to look at the mission of this group. What are we trying to accomplish? I think the most that we can do is to cut out the damn corruption, find ways that those who are corrupt and found to be corrupt can only not run again for office, but go to jail.
Go to jail
I
and
mean, there
dispossess of
has
their
to be some kind of
and
punishment.
dispossess of their ill gains.
Um,
Yes, yeah, George.
I want to make a point, Mr. Chairman, and perhaps I said this maybe in this forum or somewhere before, that a very informed Belizean once said that it's a gentleman by the name of Artis. It could be Holman Artis, a very learned guy. I think he was an attorney. He basically said that one of the best written constitution the world had seen was the constitution of Nazi Germany. It had in everything in terms of people's empowerment. But the application of that constitution, as we know, or the lack of application of it,
There we go.
has been
There
a
we go.
nightmare for the world.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful that you could come up with the best script, but unless you're implementing, then it means nothing.
But
And I want to say that we have to be mindful that the effort going into the Constitution cannot be just to say that you shall be guided by these guidelines. There has to be something in there to
Hold you
obligate
accountable.
people to conform
Right,
to it.
right.
And
Some
I'm
teeth
saying
to it.
that in the context that, for example, one of the amendments to the environmental laws basically says it's a very timely process. You're going to do environmental impact analysis, and it is basically saying that if you do not hear from, and I'm just using an example here, if you do not hear from the Department of the Environment in 3 months after you have submitted, then you have the okay to go ahead. And I think, no, because it is obligating the machinery of government to operate on a kind of commitment and efficiency platform.
But if you don't have, what if government don't act?
you
then
open
could
the door
just
for
do other things.
corruption.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
but
Open,
this is
all
what I'm
somebody have to
saying.
pay them for no
Hold on,
hack.
hold on. Wait, man, wait.
Yeah.
G-Mike,
Yeah.
I am saying that the problem that we have is that the government, successive governments, have either bypassed the Constitution or they have run roughshod. So one of the difficulties that we have is really the balance between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary.
Well, yeah,
The
obviously, yeah.
executive is really a beast.
Well, George, I would feel more comfortable if that constitution had said, if you have not heard from the Department of the Environment in 3 months, that project is canceled.
No, well, but that's the point that, I mean, it could go both ways. I'm just saying that.
Well,
there's
no,
a
it can't go both ways though, because the other way opens up the door for mischief. I agree.
Both ways it opens the door for mischief.
No,
Because if I am a Belizean,
No, if it's
If
What
canceled.
is it that we have right now?
wait, man, wait. If I'm
Where?
a Belizean
All right,
and I
yeah,
have a project that I want to employ 50,000 Belizeans,
right,
I don't care what you
and
want
I
to
know
do.
here from DOE, for whatever reason,
right.
Yeah.
do you believe that I should be disenfranchised and 50,000 Belizeans should
Yes,
be
yes, yes.
Because the other
Yes.
400
No,
the other
I-
400
I don't
I-
want to lose the principle.
No. You're putting in something in there, and you're throwing up 50,000 jobs as if that's supposed to
No.
then justify anything else that follows. Forget
No,
that.
no,
We need
no.
to do it right. If we don't do it
But-
right, we're not gonna get it right.
So,
Yeah.
so is it acceptable to you that government could continue for draggy foot?
But
Or
not
to
do that.
No,
ignore-
no,
do
what
that.
you do-
No,
what
do
you
that.
do-
What would be the
George,
solution?
No,
George,
no.
what you do then is you open the course for legal measures that if you don't hear from them within a certain time, you could
Hold
take it to
somebody
court.
accountable. Somebody
Well,
there
yeah.
has to be responsible.
Well, I am saying that the Belize is in the mess that it is because we have a decent script, not a perfect script, but we have a decent script
Uh-huh.
to have come up with a different reality. Do you guys realize that it is the same script that Barbados have? It is the same.
What are you saying though? Because you know what?
No.
You're, you're agreeing with Brackett, and I agree with him on this one. That we have a constitution. We have a constitution handed down way from the Magna Carta. Came down. and it's basically common sense. But that the implementation,
Exactly.
how do we have too many loopholes? First of all, minister's discretion ought to
Right.
go. The minister should have no discretion as to what to do. You go by the law. Simple for everybody. And, and like the prime minister, call this guy down the border for letting this lady with all these plants, right?
Yeah.
So then the lady, the guy said, listen, you have to go through my superior because that's not how I'm told it works. Blam.
Yeah.
All right. He then, where this guy there? He implements action to get rid of this guy, not to get rid of the policy that allows him to do that. And then he comes with an excuse. Well, yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes them civil servants drag their foot so they can get money out of you. That is true. So what that says to me that you know that already. But what are you doing to do that? Nothing. You're just using that to justify the wrong that you're doing.
But then you have muddled everything up, Mr. Chairman.
In what
Because
way?
in any management context, if you have a policy or a law that says that thou shalt inspect the flowers coming in,
Right,
and make a decision based on safety issues,
uh-huh,
and you don't do it, then you are saying that there should be no consequences.
Oh wait, are you saying the consequence was because the guy didn't do it?
No. I am relating this to the Constitution, you know. I am saying that
No. Because we're
This
talking
would-
about you saying I'm
you
murky in
could
the
have the best
water.
Constitution, but if you're not implemented,
We
to
know
the
that.
law,
That's what Brackett
then
was
you
saying,
might
and
as
that's
well
correct.
have none. And
Well,
so I am
yes.
saying that in the Constitution itself, you have to have inbuilt penalties.
But you're suggesting we throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, I am not suggesting that you have not only misspoke, but you have misunderstood what I was trying to communicate or what I
Well, you
communicated.
sound good saying that, but I don't feel good about you saying it. But go ahead. Go ahead. You got a slick way. I tried shorting out there, and that's why Leonard not like you, and I can understand Leonard not liking you because you got a tricky way about your judge, and you
Leonard,
need.
You damage me credibility at this point, Mr. Chairman. You
But-
damage me
yeah,
credibility
but
and
Judge,
credibility at this point.
Leonard,
You set me up.
Leonard, in that regard, I agree with you. We have a constitution. The constitution is commonsensical, except for little loopholes that allow these people to get away with what they get away with. The intent should be to close loopholes. Let us close the loopholes.
That is not what they're after, though. That's the
I
problem.
believe that
They're not after helping the country to gain better governance and accountability,
Well, why
which
you
is
think
really
they
what
put,
the country needs.
why you think they put
We
George
have a
on there?
very good constitution. It can be modified in bits and pieces as they have been doing before,
And
and there should not be any problem about that because any constitution is subject to modification
yeah,
to suit
Well,
the
it
will
should
of the
be.
people,
It-
not the will of the
It's a living
elected
document.
officials who
It's
do
a
not
living
want to be
document.
held accountable.
It should
And that
be.
is really what we're fighting against, or what we're up
Yeah.
against. And people appear not to be, they appear oblivious to that reality. And that's what.
and that's why I believe that the first thing they should have told us what it is in the Constitution they had problems with and what
Right.
they wanted
What-
to address.
yeah, exactly.
Amen.
Rather than throw this
Amen.
whole thing out there that constitutional reform. Tell
Right.
us what the issues are.
There's
that
an
is-
agenda afoot that is going to be put in place, and the eyes will have it. And at the end of the day, it will be done. And those who are at the forefront pushing that agenda will just sit back and watch the mechanisms work, because then it would have been legitimately achieved. What they
Excuse
cannot
me,
achieve right now, because this present
excuse me,
constitution
I'll
forbids
lock the window,
them,
the rain.
they will be able to achieve under the modern or new constitution, because all those doors will be left open for all the horses to gallop out of the forget the name of the place when they keep the horses now.
the stable.
The stable. Yeah,
Remember
thank
that
you. Okay,
society
it's
is
just a
for
game.
people.
It's a facade.
Um,
And at the end of the day, don't care if they add 100 more people to that committee.
Yeah.
I am hearing Gregory in that perhaps one approach could have been what it is that we want to fix,
Yes.
Or the
and
people.
that's on the
And it
that's
is
on
going to
one
be,
side of
at the end of the
spectrum.
day, the people are going to be crying and waiting and
At the other end of the spectrum is the sky is the limit. All that I need is clarification as to what it is that the government wants to accomplish, whether it's the left-hand side of the spectrum or the right-hand side or somewhere in between. That needs to be stated. One thing with human societies is that they change over time. And if they change over time, it means that the policy documents that will guide their behavior and that will guide their activities also needs to change.
Right.
But you need to clarify that.
There's a fair, in terms of numbers, there's a significant constituency that believe that we should depart the parliamentary democracy model that we have based on.
But they didn't tell us that as being. They did not tell us that as being.
No,
part
no, no.
of the
I'm not
agenda.
saying that. I'm just saying.
Not only that.
But I finished
there's
my
nothing
point.
wrong on any of the things
Yeah,
that they're
well,
currently
yeah,
doing.
well,
Finish my point.
Yeah, but they stand to run out of the hourglass. Go ahead.
You could. There are people who want to get rid of the current structure that
Right.
we have.
Right.
There are other people that want to basically go to some form of Republican type government.
Right.
I think that we need to have that conversation.
Is that the conversation we're having?
My one belief is that I do not believe that we need to change the current model that we have. I think that what we have is bad application, but I think that there should be a public discourse
I
to
think
basically look at what it is that we want in terms of the big picture.
I think we all agree on that, George. And that's what I'm hearing, a consensus on that we don't really need to throw everything out.
No, we don't.
And I think when you say that people change, yes, people change and governments change and countries change, but there are basic things that remain in place. Number one, thou shalt not steal, and maybe even the Constitution is based on the 10 commandments that we have that are common sense one. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie. These are things that are basic.
Mr.
They
Chairman,
don't
can I ask
change.
a question?
Yes, sir, you may.
Could I ask a question, sir? To the
Yes,
panel?
you may, sir. Yes,
As a whole?
100 times over. Yes, you may, sir.
Okay. What part of the preamble to the current constitution do these people intend to change? And what part of our constitutional rights, civil rights, that are empowered by the Constitution, as well as our God-given rights, which we are born with, and are being deferred to
But
by
we've established
or preamble to the Constitution?
We've established we don't know. We don't know
which
what
of
they
these
want
things
to
are these
change.
guys after?
We've established that we don't know. We don't know what we want to change. I believe that
Tell
what
us.
we have to do is just
Because they
put
have
in
seen
place-
subsequent government, one after another, bamboozle the people and get away with a lot of criminal conduct. And these guys aren't any different. They're just about to give us the same medicine.
Well, another point that we could discuss tonight relates to that exactly, is that we have no opposition. And now we have an opposition in further turmoil, getting ready to recall again the leader of the opposition that is there.
Before you go to that second part, sir, on the first part that you just mentioned, we do not have an adequate opposition. We have an opposition that is in cahoots with the present government as far as what the present government is trying to do with the current constitution. And that leader of the opposition currently standing there in the House yesterday, last Friday, is totally out of his workers in terms of agreeing with the things that he should have been opposing, which means
Like
that he's either ill-informed or uninformed or just disinterested.
Do you have one example? Do you have one example of things that
He agrees that what the commission was attempting to do in terms of changing the constitution was bona fide. Anybody who has good faith towards my country believes, and I'm going to throw this over.
Are you there?
He froze.
Alternative that is not being explained or that is not being aggregated yet or discussed or debated, and as I'm explaining to some people, or as I'm saying on this program tonight, and have been saying to other people before, what the agenda, because nothing is being done just for the sake of doing. These guys are not just going and creating a constitutional reform commission towards the country. Otherwise, they will have helped the country move forward successfully without having to resort to those type of bamboozling. And everybody right now is talking about the Constitutional Reform Commission, when over a year ago I was pointing out that that is what they were trying to aggregate and go after. And now that they're actually going after the process, I've been pointing out again some of the things that they're actually trying to do. First and foremost, which is the people who are heading that agenda has no interest in having the British or us Belize having any association with the British, the people who kept us in good stead against Guatemala's hegemonic intents and desires. What they want is for us to despise the British, disassociate from the British, become a part of Central America.
But that's not fair.
As we are part of the territory of Central America.
That's not fair. That's
and
not
disassociate
fair.
ourselves from the Caribbean, even though the majority of the country was being led by Caribbean-minded people before.
You have no grounds for those allegations. There, you have no grounds for that. Listen, I can't see anybody.
Do you have the time, sir, for me to explain?
No, I don't.
You,
no, I don't.
Or for me to give you the facts?
I don't.
Or to cite the facts?
Mr. Chairman,
do you have enough time in the program for me?
Mr. Chairman, you have used the word speculation.
Yes, sir.
But I think sometimes we have to reflect and evaluate whether or not a statement,
because I said makes it, sir,
or it's informed opinion.
Needs to be said and needs to be heard.
Mr. Brackett is operating from a standpoint of informed opinion. He has information to define whatever he's proposing. I'm just saying that.
Okay. So you're going to bring that information forward, Mr. Brackett, why you're sure that they want us to despise the British. They want us to let go of the British. There is a school out there
sorry.
that would want us to dissociate, indeed, and change the picture upon the Queen, move from one system of governance to the other, which would be, and I don't see why we have to go all the way.
It's a lot more than that, Mr. Chairman. It's a hell of a lot more than that, sir.
Well, go ahead and explain it then.
We're hung up on that because that's what they put in front of us. Okay, for us to digest and spend our time on.
Can you explain? Can you put forward with some facts where you're sure that is what is happening?
Okay. Again, with history, right? Belize has been kept away from Guatemala. Guatemala claims Belize as...
No shit. When did that happen? When did that happen, Brackett?
48 years after, at which point Spain had already ceded and acceded to Belize's interest as a colony of Britain.
But we're not going there again, man, because Judge Guy, you want to set a history along that line. We stick with the topic, Russell.
I just wanted to make a point that there's a process.
Could somebody else continue speaking then, so we don't have blank time
there
in
will
the program?
There will be the meeting of experts. There will be the meeting.
Somebody else had another salient point that maybe we could discuss or move forward with?
Yeah.
George is speaking.
But I'm just saying that there's a process, and that process also leads to what they call consultation.
There's some interference with the
and you have to be careful. You have to be careful of the word consultation because there are various types of consultations. What I have seen happen with this government and with the previous government is that they said they consult you, and basically they come to you and they basically say, G. Mike,
inform you.
It's going to rain next week, and we are telling you this, and then we have to go to silk grass, and you are saying, yeah, but what does that mean for me? And you're saying maybe it's not going to rain, but then say, listen, we don't consult you and we tell you it's rain next week. So regardless of what you say or how you feel it's going to rain next week, I am saying that you have to be careful of the word consultation, and we have to hold the feet of the government to the fire to say that it cannot be a consultation where you come to us with the 10 commandments and you're just informing us. There has to be space in there for our inputs to be factored in, to be evaluated and factored in.
And be considered.
And be considered. Normally works. So you have to guard that.
But George, let's be real, because even
we
when
have some man-made interference, but there is some interference.
Even when you see the government is doing something, and I said and do it in consultation with the opposition, they just send the opposition a letter. We're getting ready to do this. Send it to the Governor General. He signs it off, or she signs it off, and it's done. Yeah. I mean, there's no
which is not the way it's supposed to happen.
But there's public consultations.
Constitutionally, the Governor General should have a constitutional legal officer and or people to assist her to understand, as it is now a woman, or whether it was a man before or a woman now, as we have now. They do not have the leverage, they do not have the economic means by which they can hire good legal minds to help them stop some of these bamboozling things that these guys are doing, okay? And some of these things that the Governor Generals have been signing off on, they have the power to do so. They are empowered to do so, but they also have a responsibility to check and make sure that they are not just signing willy-nilly anything that is being put in front of them, which is how these guys would like it to be. Well, our government controls the budget of the Governor General's office, and if they were operating genuinely and honestly, they would provide that necessary support to her or to him, whoever that person is, because it's a function. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Somebody was about to say something. No, sir. No. Go ahead, Mr. Morrison.
No, I was going to say we saw that same issue with the previous government where they just present where they bar.
Yeah, you just mute yourself. You just mute yourself, Greg. Yeah, there you go. It's back on now. You made some movement.
Okay. I said we saw that same issue with the Barrow administration previously, where they just present packages to the ordinances to the and SI statutory instruments to the Governor General and say sign this, and all of a sudden your civil rights are put on hold and you can't go to the Sarstoon and things like that.
It's a joke.
Which was an illegal.
Gregory, it's a joke, because if they don't sign it, then they're fired, because the Governor General is appointed by the government in power. Have you seen any country where they can just
Mr. Chairman, please, sir.
There are countries where the Governor General is more active, and the Governor General, as Leonard was saying, does have a staff.
Mr. Chairman, though, please don't let that point get away. What you just stipulated there is contrary to our current constitution.
Yeah.
The Governor General is not appointed, nor does she or he serves at the pleasure of our government or governance.
Well, you think so?
That is totally out of whack. Too many Belizeans in high powered places, including attorney generals from both parties, are mistakenly propagating that misinformation.
This is where what misinformation? When the UDP came in, they fired Demeter Gordon and put in Sir Colville Young. Did they not, sir? Is that a
sir? If you read the Constitution,
I know what you say.
That the Governor General serves at the pleasure of
either
the Queen, which was in the previous case.
That is, sir. That is the is. We're talking. That is the art. We're talking about what is, what has happened, evidence is there that it happened.
Maybe you can break it down into the
misled common multiples by these guys who are bamboozling from the highest levels of our governance. I'm saying to you, 2 past attorney generals have intimated exactly what you just said incorrectly, and when brought to their attention, they acknowledge so. But then, so what? To hell with it. The game goes on.
You have a knack. You have a knack for stating the obvious, sir. Go ahead, Judge.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Remember, there's two-step dance here. There's the issue of naming the governor general, which has the compliance of the opposition, and then there is the issue of
the authority,
day-to-day operations, where when it comes to laws and policies, the governor general needs to sign on them. I believe that the way the governor general is named, the dynamics of it is that he or she is really just a figurehead.
Yes.
And I don't know of any situation where a governor general had the chutzpah to say that this document has been put in front of me and I am not going to sign it on the basis of practice or principles. It doesn't happen.
Not in Belize.
They do not have a legal team to assist them in that regard.
No, not in
I don't
Belize.
think that they have the political will.
In other
It's not
Commonwealth
about our
countries, they have had governor generals that stand up to the government, and they have the legal right and authority to do so.
So can ours.
They serve. So does ours. They serve the interests of the people more than the political party. Should be the role of a governor general, to make sure that there's even and fair play, and that the people are getting the benefit of governance.
And the governor general operates not necessarily in consensus with the advice from any minister, including the chief minister or head minister or prime minister, which in some instances is requested to be done. But the governor general, according to the constitution, and these are some of the things that these guys are really after when I tell you guys that they're after a bigger program than what meets the eye and what they're putting out there. These are the things that behind the scene that they're really, really trying to go after. Okay? The governor general.
So the new constitution, they'll get rid of the governor general?
More likely than not.
Well, they don't have
That's the only part of the agenda. There's a hell of a lot of stuff going on behind the scene, I'm telling you.
But they don't have to. The governor general poses no threat. She signs anything they give her anyway.
No, but I'm trying to explain to you. The executive authority of governance of the country of Belize, the independent, the conditionally independent country of Belize, the executive authority of Belize resides in Her Majesty.
Yes.
Even as of today, date that you and I or we are having this discussion, that is what the Constitution says.
Yes.
And that authority is vested in a governor general who delegates authority and assents authority to the local legislator and the cabinet.
Let me ask you a question.
All of whom are subject to him or her.
Let me ask you a question.
They cannot operate without his consent or her consent.
Leonard,
or question.
His headphone.
Leonard, do you have an headphone?
I have it on. I have both of them.
He just keep talking then. Let me ask you a question. Does our governor general perform the ceremonial role like the Queen in opening Parliament on the 1st of Parliament and so forth? Do they have that responsibility? But we have never seen that. We have never seen that done, as far as I'm aware.
Well, and that is not the only occasion. There are a lot of ceremonial things that happens in our country that the governor general presides over.
Mm-hmm.
Many. Those of us who are paying attention should be aware of that.
Hello?
I think this conversation is all well and good, but I don't want people to miss the point that I am saying going forward with the Constitutional Reform Commission, there shall be meetings with the public. And at those public, quote unquote consultations, I am sounding the alarm that we need to submit to the minister that the voice of the people must be heard in terms of these consultations. It's not what you call status quo consultation, where we just tell you that this is in there and we listen to you and we take notes, but it means nothing in terms of how we adjust the document.
You're saying it's going to be different?
You know where it stands loud and clear? With Section 51 of the Constitution.
Could I ask a question, please?
Hold on. Go ahead, CY.
Okay. I'm listening. I'm not hearing no no, what you call it, a fail-safe element. Like there's no safe element in the whole constitution at all. Even like if we see wrongdoing going on, and we know there's wrong in both parties, but that's how it goes. But where is there a net or a safe way written in the constitution? There is none. So say you mentioned on the panel mentioned, okay, we'll fire this person or get rid of that person or do this or do that. But if there's nothing in the constitution that feels safe to see if there's all this bamboozle, as Mr. Leonard say, or all the nepotism, all the other things that's not.
Well, see, the Constitution was never designed to do that kind of stuff. It says if he does malfeasance, then you are supposed to deal with the laws, with the law of the country.
Exactly, that's my point.
The Constitution
how do you get to that point?
Yeah,
The
Constitution
laws
is a
are
much
there.
broader. The Constitution is a much broader document of governance, not to deal with political mischief and stealing and that kind of stuff.
And Sissy, why you have the laws of the country? Those are there, and if they were adhered to, if we would stick to the law, that all of them would be in a jail.
And we are not, and that's my point. So
what I think we need in Belize, that kind of like one IRS, that when you build a big house, if you only make $200 a month and you build $1 million home, you need for
something all right.
Yes,
that's an enforcement issue.
So, well, that's the problem.
That is the problem.
That's what I'm asking.
And this is the point that I said, that we have to, somewhere in the Constitution, we have to assign an obligation clause that says that ministers and political operatives are obligated to implement laws and policies.
Let me.
I just want to throw this off, G. Mike, to say that when we look at the issue with the former Prime Minister and one, I believe, Mr. John, the Prime Minister basically said that if I find one iota of evidence that Mr. John has misbehaved, I will bring the force of the law on him. I believe that in theory, the laws are there.
Yes.
But in practice, the political will was lacking. No commissioner of police will arrest a minister of police.
Well, he's appointed by the government of the day. So, wait, let me bring up a point to that I saw the other day. When they seized this $3 million out of this, then people safe. Which there are laws now. There are laws that how much money you could get without declaring it, etc., etc. But I saw a post by no other than Anwar Barrow, son of the former Prime Minister, and his post showed a picture of the establishment and said, "Look at all the money that these people have invested, and you're sweating them about $3 million." This is kind of like the same line of reasoning that you took a while ago, George, that I took exception to, in suggesting that, well, if I create 50,000 jobs, you have to give me a little break. I'm saying the law has to be the law and has to be adhered to in every instance, don't you think?
G. Mike, you have misconstrued and misinformed the public. And again, I am saying to you that the law itself says you're not breaking the law. The law itself is saying to you that if you do not implement the provisions of Section A, then Section B is saying that I should proceed. That's so you're misconstruing and misinforming, and you're injuring my character and
let me
and what I'm communicating, sir. So
I don't think he's doing that maliciously.
Let me borrow a
the
word.
chairman is trying.
Let me borrow a word from Leonard Brackett. I'm sorry.
All right.
Listen.
What's up, Mr. Brackett? All right, sir.
Listen to me.
He was supposed to be talking about the Mr. Leonard is supposed to get a few minutes so he could do the tell us about
the presentation for the
infrastructure thing. I mean, I'm having fun with it, but I'm just saying it's up to you guys.
I want to mention something quickly, and it's about the kids that won the robotic competition in Geneva. You know, I think we just have to congratulate them on that. They did a wonderful job. I think that some issues came up on the manner in which they had posed the flag on on the table or whatever, and then placed the robot on it, and it created some big stirs on Facebook.
Come on.
No.
Give the kids a break.
Yeah, I know.
Morrison.
But I just think that as a nation too, we do need to have a flag protocol to kind of make sure that we don't run into issues, because I see a lot of misuse of our national symbol or flag, and you know, over time as we evolve as a nation, we just need to make sure we kind of clear up those and clean up those things.
But maybe that's a part of the reform.
That itself is a problem, because the flag isn't the way the flag's supposed to be, and that a lot of people are complaining about that. That's a different subject.
Leonard, we have to just go with the one we have now.
Correct.
Well, the one we have now is not the one that we are being. That's what I'm trying to say to you, sir.
We've exhausted that argument.
We don't have that 8-inch. We don't have that 8-inch red border anymore.
Yeah,
From the day they raised it out at Memorial Park on the 21st. On the 21st, that district had been cleared.
Let me tell you how
that's a big subject, though, man.
You know how
We're passing over it lightly, but it's a big subject.
No. You know why I see that? When I see the school parade and the children walking down the street with the Belize flag is recognizable. And I see a Belize flag. Me not going to take away the Lee picnic flag and say, why I make sure this got the right hue, color, the man, panetta, and what the right amount.
Exactly.
I see a Belize flag, and I think it's important that we. But I understand the need for the protocol, Mr. Morrison, that when you present it in an official manner, there are certain things you don't do. Like at the funeral, you don't pull it off of the coffin and roll it up. You have a way to fold it. There's some guy you have to, because it's a symbol of us.
Yes.
But by the same token, we also have to look at the representatives that represent us, which is a symbol also of us, representative of us, and we need to hold them to a very high standard, and we need to demand more from them as far as etiquette and
yes,
decorum and all of that. No, I think we need to pay more attention to these things, but more importantly, I think we need to look at the key areas that we need to fix. And one is that corruption has to cease, or at least minimize it. And then those who, and I agree with Leonard Brackett on this, we need to find a way to recover when we find out that somebody has misappropriated funds. Get some of it back, man. And we can't, there's a simple thing too. Where you want to sell somebody a piece of land for a couple of dollars and then buy it back for so many $1 million. And it's okay. It's okay. You know, I'm looking at something else too that we need to look at, which the legal system, and this is apart from the point, because we run down to about 8:15. And there are 2 cases today that people walked off of murder charges. One of them, the man gets shot and lived long enough to tell the police who shot him, identify the person in detail. How the hell do you lose such a case? Tell me.
Technicalities and no prosecution because of technicalities.
Well, you still got to be able to establish and prove that that person that they identify was in fact in that area and stuff. I don't think that makes you automatically guilty. I think you still got a case to prove.
Yeah, but listen, the police.
With me, if the man committed the crime and he was identified by the victim, that's the primary evidence.
It is, but there's still a case.
Any court should be able to entertain.
You still got to prove that that man was there and had the means of doing that.
There are a lot of different technicalities in the process of trial for a case. That's why you have losers and winners in cases.
The next one is, the next one is supposedly had witnesses. Now they had a camera footage. They had footage of this, and they lost the case. So we have to look on the whole justice system, and maybe there's a lot of corruption there also that we must look at, because there have been rumors of collusion between prosecution and magistrates and whatnot.
Whole files have disappeared.
Files have disappeared. Crazy,
Whole
man.
files.
The
Come on, man.
the outcome of cases is dependent on two main things: the evidence provided and the arguments in court. I believe that it is time to really look carefully at the DPP's office, because that office is a failure. It is a failure. I do not understand. There's a system in government where they do a performance appraisal. I do not understand why the DPP is being rewarded in terms of being in the evaluation. She gets a passing grade. There has to be some kind of performance criteria. If you are losing 97% of the cases, there's either something wrong with you, your office, as G. Mike is saying, the whole justice system. I think that there's some weakness between the police and the DPP. It needs to be fixed.
It needs to be
And it
fixed.
should have been fixed 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are we
But
having
some of these police officers are family members to some of the people who are the criminals,
But that's
who are hired to
another.
commit the crimes on behalf of other people. So
Yeah,
parties.
that's
You know,
another.
it's a whole crazy stuff going on.
You need to
Yeah.
do what we call an institutional audit. Go there and find out if they got the right mission, they got the right person in place, they have the right protocols,
I
the
think
right processes.
a big part of the problem is that we.
Decency, basic decency.
Okay. No, but seriously, I think that we have to look at ourselves also as to what we're willing to accept nowadays. But we just let things go by. We have to be more vocal, I think. We have to object when things like this come up and we see the blatant wrong that's committed, and we can't just turn our head because they now are looking at it and say, well, it's just a blow over, man. You see what I'm saying? That one ridiculous. We if we continue like this, we can't blame nobody but ourselves. We have, and I like the fact that we have this forum where four of us can sit and discuss these things, but it has to be more. It has to be a further reach than this, where something can be done, and hopefully that we'll get a wide enough audience at some point to be able to make a difference. You know?
Agreed.
On that point, G. Mike.
My hope. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
No, I was
Mike.
just saying that on that point, G. Mike, I know of a couple of people who have huge followings. And for example, there was one person who said that not the Bullet Tree Road, the road to Guinea Grass is rough. And that person get 5,000 likes and 100 feedback. And you know, within a week, the road in Guinea Grass was being fixed. And so I am hoping that as this forum gains momentum, there will be people watching and listening in that has a following of 5,000 people. And so when they speak of the concerns that are raised here, it could elicit policy and action at the level that it needs to be elicited.
What is also important, though, that when we present these arguments and we present our points of view, that we're clear and that we, come to some kind of consensus down the road as to the points we're trying to make and present them in a package that the ordinary person can understand and sign on to if they need to. So,
and maybe we need to do a summary at the end of it, G. Mike. So, for example, if you look at this thing at this forum, you can basically say that major concerns have been expressed in relation to the constitutional reform processes. There are things that needs to happen. The whole issue of inclusion or exclusion on the commission that has come out of this needs to be visited. There is the issue of the process going forward. What will happen to so there needs to be a kind of summary, and maybe that could happen by you, G. Mike. Maybe you use the last 5 or 10 minutes to say, thus far, this is what we have come up with from the meeting.
Well, since you volunteered and you're good at it, I mean, give me homework.
So I mean,
it's as tough for me as it is for you, my brother.
I don't mind
but
summarizing
no,
at the end.
yeah, and that's good because I know after, I mean, we could alternate chairmanship too, you know.
No. You're doing a
You see,
decent job.
you see what I'm saying? And don't hit this for me now.
No,
But
you're doing a
that's
decent
all
job.
right. When I hear Leonard Brackett say that, then I'll be all right with that. Because me and you are a friend, and you might say it. But Brackett when be he take
Uh,
long for say it, but
Ah,
but he ain't say it. No,
you know, we also spoke about the role of the Governor General.
right.
We spoke about governance, and I think that the consensus or the prevailing opinion here is that yes, there's need for change, but we do not see the kind of tectonic change that will shift from the current governance structure of the monarchy. I think that is, so that's one of them. I think that one of the other things that we spoke about is really in relation to the point made by, I think, Leonard, that the whole Governor General thing, it needs to be revisited. It needs to be looked at very, very carefully, because at the end of the day, and Greg kind of said this, and I need to say this, that at the end of the day, what we have in practice in Belize in terms of the role of a Governor General is not necessarily the ideal, because there are other experiences that have come to the fore, perhaps in the region,
Right.
that has similar structure. So in terms of summary, that is basically what you want, 3 or 4 points, so that the listener gets to go away with something.
Yeah.
It will be good. It will be good if somehow though, some little reading would be had as regards to the powers, the rights, and the execution of function by the Governor General in terms of acting in his own or her own deliberate function, with no overview or review by any courts of the land. Do we understand how broad those powers are?
Well, maybe she needs to do that reading. Maybe she needs to understand that. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she doesn't understand
If
what
she's
her
not
role
properly
is.
informed, now remember, the lady is not a legal mind. All I was saying is that all previous Governor Generals should have been afforded the basic decency of a constitutional, because it's a constitutional position. They should have been afforded, and this present one should be afforded, because as of today date that I am aware of, she's not been afforded
Why
the
they're not?
ability to have someone
they
with
should have a
constitutional
legal
knowledge
advisor. They
to
should have a
advise.
they should have a legal advisor.
And,
Well,
I would not accept that people would tell me, okay, well, the government already have the Attorney General, and therefore she could go and consult with the Attorney General, who is subject to the whim of the Prime Minister.
Well, I think she should have her own, but I think
Very good
there's not an issue. The role of the Attorney General is also to be an independent counsel. And I think in that role, they should be able to afford themselves of providing information to both the government and the Attorney General. But I think also the Governor General needs her own legal counsel.
Definitely.
We appoint a lawyer to the position.
Yeah.
Let them come with qualifications. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I was thinking.
It's long overdue and very important.
I was
Long
thinking
overdue and very- So,
I was thinking the other day about even with like government vehicles and whatnot, and the abuse of it, and I think that and again I saw an ad for Chow Sang, and you had to have your own motorcycle, and I'm thinking, damn, if you have to get your own motorcycle to deliver chicken, you should have your own vehicle if you're going into a government office like that, or they buy one for you and make you pay it back up along the rear. But to just buy one, like one minister pull up to the gas pump and I put in diesel instead of gas, and the next day he has a brand new CMR vehicle. Man, that shit crazy, man.
but they can't get the retirees their retirement so they could survive.
It's crazy. It's
Well,
really
it's just crazy that
Government.
I agree with that, Leonard. The retirees are not living well.
Listen to you.
This place is getting worse and worse, man.
See,
Yeah,
you
he's
think
having
bad
a
thing
hard
with-
time, my brother.
you ever hear about
I'm
bad
tempted
thing
to
with-
I'm tempted to believe that I won't probably survive
Right,
the next few months that I'm supposed to be here, because somehow or another somebody's gonna take umbrage to my efforts. But I could care less.
Well, Leonard, it's good that you're mentioning that, because me, you, and G Mike supposed to have a kind of
I'm looking forward to that.
informal
rendezvous.
table.
A rendezvous. Remember?
Greg is not here, but you could fly in, Greg. You could fly in one Saturday.
Yeah, girl.
I
yeah,
know.
What?
Look here, when I rent a boat and go take a fishing trip or something, and maybe let's
No. Too many important people in this country have disappeared off a boat. I'm a champion swimmer, but I don't want to get disappeared off a no boat.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm going to be traveling in the area where they don't got to do that with drop.
You coward.
Yeah,
You talk about
yeah,
your
for
patriot.
real,
You
for real.
coward, man. You coward.
See why I have a chat to save my country, not to go through my life stupidly.
We need to.
Everything is cool, but it sound like after all, look like the constitution needs to change, or even though we're not supposed to
Well,
change.
no, that was not the consensus.
Be careful what we ask for.
All right, so what about the governor general? If you want to get rid of the governor general, then you have to change the constitution.
No. We don't want. That's not true.
Okay,
we
I
need.
don't know.
First, I think the consensus is we need to understand what they're looking for in the constitution to reform.
Okay,
What is exactly you
What's
want?
applicable?
Is it all or any part of it? Or
All right. I understand.
And as far as the governor general, we believe she should have more teeth. Or
Got
right.
a lawyer, such as a lawyer. Yeah,
I wrote an article.
But she
questioning the prime minister whether or not he understands the meaning of the word sedition.
Sedition, you crossing over into some different territory now, because you're talking about some real.
Judge,
I asked him a few questions, but I haven't had any answer.
Whether the word we use, Judge, where he needs some what? He need he said the governor general needs something, man. Some word to use it. Like he needs some gumption or that. What the word we use?
Eat or something?
Yeah,
I don't remember what he said.
yes.
What?
No, Judge was saying that the governor general with some kind of like balls. You know, some balls.
No, man, you can't say that. No, you can't. We gotta be careful, Mr. Chairman.
Why you can't say
Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
She needs to be empowered with the qualifiers such as legal counsel. I think
that you say you need to have some gumption. But balls, yeah.
I don't need a trouble with them people, you know. I don't need a trouble with them parties.
You can't get no deeper. I mean, you just not take
But Mr. Chairman, you can't ascribe to the man where the man no say, man.
Just
you put the man in a trouble.
So I
You
think
put the man in a legal jeopardy.
I think we're gonna deal with the presentation, because I think that's a big issue too. I mean, I think G Mike is kind of practical when it comes to, we've been having hurricanes and ice age for 1,000,000 years and we survived. So, but if there's a way to get rid of some of the water and the outflow due to irrigation or due to floods and storms, well, we all done for that. So I guess next week we're gonna deal with what Mr. Brackett promised.
Oh,
I hope you gentlemen had the opportunity to review the material, so at least we'll have some good questions asked or maybe some good input provided, to enhance the process.
I received
that's a lot of information, I mean.
It still needs to be done.
It sounds to me like this has to be something for next week, one, but two.
I said next week.
I think that we need to ask Leonard to give us that 5 or 10 minutes presentation so that we can then weigh in.
Yeah.
Leonard don't know how to give 5 minutes or 10 minutes presentation.
Gregory,
you're asking me to consolidate 50 pages of technical information. Yeah, 50 pages of technical information in 5 minutes.
Gregory,
and that is because I'm supposed to do that to members of the panel who are well versed and capable of understanding this material. Imagine the public hearing this discussion. No consolidation.
Who on the panel? Pioneer, call him.
Let me put it this way. Give me that kind of homework there for do. But I saw the document, I looked at it, and give me that for go
Nobody
you-
else. We need
Boy,
a synopsis. You need to
take
be
your-
broken down. You got to
yes.
be broken down.
You
Yeah,
just
no,
But
no,
Mr. CY, they give you another week, man. Mr. CY, they put this thing
That's
off till
right.
another week.
So you
Right.
go
You
on
give
next
us-
week. You must have to take that that week
Exactly,
and put that in a
summarize.
5-minute presentation. man.
Yeah, summarize. That's
I
the
could do
idea.
5 minutes right now, man. I'm thinking that
No,
I'm thinking Mr. Marvin
No,
will
you
ask for the
can't
5 minutes
muffle up
right now.
everything.
Next,
You already
next,
accused-
next
you
week.
already
I came
accused-
prepared for the 5 minutes for
You
this
already
show.
accused the chairman of muddling up things
Why?
together, so we don't want to muddle up
George.
nothing else.
George, you see that the man come ready and give him one opportunity. You
No,
know,
but
No,
I
man,
thought
the time run out. The time run out. Today's
Mike.
discussion needed to be had
Isn't
because
time-
it's current
isn't time
affairs,
winding
you
down,
know.
Mr. G Mike?
eh,
When are we looking at to close off?
right now.
All right, there we go.
So
So
Oh,
next week,
7:34.
next
and
week.
then remember, Mr. Chairman, that we spoke about the state of the Belizean economy, which should be a very fruitful.
Correct.
Well, and that comes in. That's certainly something like that coming at any point. We certainly
Correct.
need for. There's so many things we can talk about,
Well,
and we need to talk about.
I could give you a
This
5
program,
synopsis
this
of the
program would have
Belizean
solved
economy next
a
week.
big part of our economy problem.
You can't give me
We
a
would have
1
cleared off
minute
the
unless
bonds
Leonard
and we'd have
will
had
get-
at least $10
Leonard-
billion extra in central bank.
Leonard will
But
not
the project
allow-
was too big for the man and brains.
G Mike,
Man, them telling me it was too ambitious, which means that they never have enough ambition.
Leonard, stop, no man, stop at some
no,
point.
G
Stop.
Mike, G Mike, I'm suggesting that after Mr. Brackett gives his presentation and we weigh in on it, I could give a 5-minute synopsis of the Belizean economy as a prelude to useful and constructive interaction.
Okay,
That sounds like a great idea.
all right. And then,
All right.
and so
Have a
where
great
you
night.
want you where you want from me and Greg then?
Well, I was just saying that those are on the agenda. So
I
whatever
could
is
talk
on the
about-
agenda,
I go talk about Inika. Where the next one is?
Unka,
Anyway.
unka.
Bunka.
think that
I talk about Inika.
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 Indica.
What is that, Mr. G Mike? What is that?
See why? Can we?
Why not? I don't know. That's
Will
you.
you lead us out?
You.
Will you lead us out in a prayer?
One love, man.
Every
One
time,
love. Bless,
people.
man. That's all I could say,
Respect.
man.
Next week, right?
Yeah, bless.
Every time.
God bless you, brothers.
Come on.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Yeah, I had fun with that one. I love this show because it's informative. You know what I mean? Respect to all my listeners out there, all our viewers. You know what I mean? Yeah, big up to Gio. Just drop it correct. Mr. Gregory, his usual calm, collected self, and Mr. Leonard for his energy, bringing the energy series. Mr. Gregory, enough respect. Judge, you're tough, Judge, for real. Respect to D. I'm gonna say DZ. We know that who, but I'm gonna say DZ. Respect to C. To my boy Sam. What you going, Sam? What you going now, man? I'm all Brooklyn massive. See me. Yeah. I always remember. I never forget. We here every Wednesday. It's always informative. That's what I like about it the most. It's always informative. Let's see what's going on. Okay, I think this is next week. I play the music back at it, so we go get on sense where to go on next week. Mr. Raymond, Mr. Raymond says on our panel too, he'll be linking up with G Mike and he's going to believe it's on land thing. When you get a believe on Saturday land thing, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's happening at the church in Arlington. You could bring all the old laptops, new laptops. For good cause, you dig? Make sure. Respect to Clarence, respect to my boy Greg Z. Chuck killed away to say. Oh, get the sense, right? See what happened, right? Think nice, right? I think I will try to bring out a league guest every now and then. But that boy have too much thing on the plate right now. So in the near future, I'll bring on a couple of guests. We have a couple of questions about certain aspect of the game. I don't know. I pull up on two while with the chat and pull up on two tunes. Respect to my brother Chucky, Leroy, Roland, Kitty, Stu, all my little sister, Julia, Gloria, Emily. Don't know. All my baby there. Real. Candice, Fiona, Erica, Amber, Zaylee, Kira. Respect to my boy Jordan all the days. I mean, I brought super celebrity crew same way. Miss Barbara, where you going, Miss Barbara? You going, Sharon? Doreen. I want to say one love out to Doreen all the time. Miss Janice Palmer, where they do over there. Mr. Carl. Yeah, man, respect Mr. Carl. Respect Mr. Carl. Don't know. David, what the man is say? Mile 41, I don't know. Blue Chew. I watch nothing, my boy. Organic man to man thing. You know what I mean? That's how we deal with the thing. You know, look for circumvent the parameter like that, my boy. For real. You know what I mean? All right then. Put it on, put it on. Oh yeah. Then one door close, many more open. Album the drop, I think the 25th. The 25th, the single. Not the album, sorry, the single drop the 25th. Merch. Around the same time we launch the merch, so yeah. Couple weeks, and a month, everything on the jump. Make sure to check in. Cop now because official, no favorite at all. And the style we use Kingdom Apparel. Real models that deal with things. And if your hair is not Malisa stop, you see Malisa stop, you see Malisa stop.